We're gonna start at the top tier characters in the game. Um, One thing I would say about this group, basically, if you pick six characters from this list right here, if you see these six characters from this top list in your match on your team, you're probably gonna win. You know what I mean? Like you're feeling good about the game. That's crystal clear, right? But without further ado, no doubt about it. Luna Snow, still the best support player in the game. Her damage got buffed. Everything else is still the same and it's still good. I keep being surprised that they don't nerf her ult. I'm sure certain people are happy with that. I don't play her, but obviously she has the best ult in the game. What else are you gonna say about her? Loki, extremely strong. Like, there's an argument that he's the best support character in the game. I'll tell you the reason. I have a principle of why I don't rank Loki above Luna, because I think the scenario where Loki is better than Luna is when there's a Luna in the game and he can easily copy her ult, right? If you have a Luna on your team and a Loki on your team, then now Loki is better than your Luna. You know what I mean? Because he has the go-to ult copy. But just by nature, because he has to copy someone else's ult, um, you know, how can he be better than Luna? This is the ideal scenario. If you have these two, it's like hard to lose, right? Anyway, and Loki's like healing pads are insanely strong. As he like clones himself, he can have like so many clones on the map, and it becomes so distracting. It's such a force multiplier. Like, he's really really good. I just don't think you can put him above Luna pound for pound when he is dependent on her to for his to make him maximize his potential. After that, my favorite healer in the game, Rocket. As a I would say I Rocket mained a lot of the season. I got the platinum maining Rocket, keeping my team alive. I do want to make one argument here. I've heard people say that support characters can't carry the game. I 100% disagree with that. My argument is to say that um, if you have a very good support team, right? If you have very good healers, like a good Rocket, a good Luna, a good Loki on your team, they will keep your team alive in scenarios where you would have otherwise died. And my point is to say that, like, if you're two teams, if one team is a little bit better than the other, but the other team has better healers, the team with better healers is going to be so hard to kill. They're going to live so much longer that ultimately they will outplay you, right? Their tanks are eventually going to kill your tanks. Their DPS are eventually going to kill your DPS. You will eventually lose that game because their team is being kept alive and they're sustaining so much longer. That is how a support player carries a game. That's how I carry with Rocket. So why is Rocket top tier? They buffed his ult. It is now a team fight winning ult. It's not exactly a life saving ult, obviously. Like, it doesn't compare to Invisible Woman as far as saving your life, or Luna as saving your life, or even Cloak and Dagger as saving your life. Those are like instant as soon as they ult. Well, no, I'll take it back. Cloak and Dagger is more in the range of Rocket. But when Luna and Invisible Woman ult, that instantly saves your life. Rocket's Rocket's ult takes a little bit more time to save your life. Like, if you're already about to die, Rocket's ult doesn't save your life. But the way I use Rocket's ult, and I think this is the best way to use it, you use it right before a big team fight starts, right? Like, I mean, it's almost like a trap. You let the enemy team like walk up on you, and right when that team fight's about to start, a well placed Rocket ult causes your team to win. Is going to win that fight. So you win the fight, you push them back, you delay their time on point, so you get more time on point, or you move the cart, whatever it is. Or the alternate is you use the Rocket. If your team is able to survive the opponent's ult, this is a good scenario, right? The team Invisible Woman ults, they were in danger. They invis ult, and it saves their life. But most opponents, you get out of the invisible. I don't sit inside of an Invisible Woman ult. I get out of the Invisible Woman ult and I wait for them to just wait for it to go away, and just try to like shoot, heal into it, shoot into it, and just wait for it to go away. Um, But with Rocket, you can kind of time it such that not much longer after the invisible ult is ending, then you Rocket ult so that there's a timeline, right? So you have the like invisible woman ult, and then you like activate your Rocket ult. So it gives your team a chance to survive their ult, and then you get some time on the back end with the Rocket ult, and you can still win that team fight like that. So that's how you use it. And then the other thing that makes Rocket top tier is Res Beacon is like, I mean, come on, bringing a character back to life to win a fight is that's a game changing play. Granted, most of Rocket's abilities can be destroyed, but that just comes down to skill experience, not putting them in obvious places. So yes, there's some weakness to Rocket, but his base kit, his survivability is through the roof. It is very difficult to kill Rocket, almost impossible to kill Rocket. A good Rocket really should be the character that dies the least in the game, right? You really should not be dying in a match with Rocket more than your other opponents. The only characters that I'd say survive more than a Rocket is, comparable to like a really good uh ink tank, like a Magneto might die. You might be in competition with Magneto for least amount of deaths. So when you're playing support, you should be looking, the stat you want to be looking for is how often did you die. You want to die as little as possible. The longer you're alive, the more ult you're building, and the more, as long as you're alive, you have a chance to keep your team alive. So support players are supposed to live at all costs. And Rocket is the best at that. He is the best. He has the most survivability. Is another thing that makes him extremely strong. Like Rocket is amazing. Invisible Woman, very good. I'd say Invisible Woman has, she's got three things that are outstanding in my opinion. I mean, they're not okay. So it's not rocket science, but obviously her ult is very good. It's really nice. It's big. It works really well on like when you're fighting to hold like a domination mode game, right? Like it fits right on the point. You know what I mean? It's perfect. But yeah, and it's like a safe haven, right? If your team's in danger, you see that invisible woman get up, you're just like, oh, can I just get there? Hopefully I don't die. Really, really good. Um, her healing, her left click, right? Her basic healing shots are piercing to her teammates. So you can heal your whole team. It goes through one, hits the other one, hits the other one, and it'll pierce and hit the enemy. So the way I think the best way that you play Invisible Woman is you want to be aligned. You want to try to make your teammates fight in a row, and then you want the enemy tank at the end of that row. So you want to be like fighting in the mid level, not all the way back with the supports, kind of more in the middle of the fight, in the range where the DPS are. You're healing your teammates and damaging the opponent's tanks, right? So you're damaging the front line on their side. So, and then she has a bunch of utility. I like to put her shield inside of a big team fight, right? So like you see a couple tanks brawling, I put my shield right in the middle of that. It basically makes it so that your teammates can fight and be healing at the same time. It kind of works very similar to Cloak and Dagger's healing bubble. She's got the push. The push is the hardest part of her kit in my opinion, but super strong, right? I mean, she can kill you by pushing you off the wall. That's insane. So yeah, the piercing, the shields, and the ult are good, and you just always save her double jump for emergencies, and you're good to go. All right, we're in the DPS now. These are the three like I think best DPS in the game. Uh, if the person is good with one of these guys, you're probably cooked, and these characters can 100% carry, and they could just I'm gonna say the first time I saw a true Smurf, it was a Bucky. I think he was like 56. He had like 56 kills in a ranked match at plat level, and it was just insane. Like 45 final hits. His ult is designed to team wipe. He's super strong. He gets health when he uses his abilities. It's insane. And they gave him 2 shots now. Like he's really, really good. He's still good. I don't care what nobody says. Star Lord is in that same conversation as best DPS in the game. You do have to have a little bit more. No, I was gonna say you got to be a little bit more careful with Star Lord. He's a bit more squishy, but he gets his ult fast. He has nice burst damage. He can flank. I use him. I just kill tanks with him. You know what I mean? Groots and things and Thors and Hulks. I think they're like big, easy targets, and he does a lot of damage. He just has a really and both of these characters are good against flyers. Bucky and Star Lord also work very well against flyers, which is another reason that they're S tier, top tier this season. Mr. Fantastic is kind of out of control right now. His damage has been boosted. His survivability has been super high. Like he's the hardest DPS character to kill. He's basically a tank. It's kind of ridiculous. His range is super long. He's got the back shots thing that he does. It's like he's always the character that is last to die on the other team, right? When you're like fighting, you know the Mr. Fantastic is still going to be alive. It takes everybody to kill him. You got to wait for him to come out of his like bad body mode. It's just insane. But just think, right? Look at this team, right? Any two of these healers, you take either one of these guys and have a Mr. Fantastic on your team, and then two of these tanks, you're going to win. You're going to win. You have to be so bad to not win with this level of talent. Okay. But yeah, Mr. Fantastic and Mr. Fantastic is like very, very flexible. He works very well as a dive character. He's terrifying, honestly, as a dive character. He can brawl in the front line. If he has one weakness, it's against flyers, but like there's so many, he's gonna terrorize the tanks and the back line to the extent that he doesn't really need to worry about the flyers, and he has so much survivability that he doesn't get cooked by the flyers. So Fantastic is a great character right now. All right, we're at the tanks now. Magneto, in my opinion, best tank in the game. He has the best like combination of abilities. He has high survivability. He's got infinite damage tank. Excuse me, infinite damage shield. He has a game changing ult. A game changing ult. His ult can make people switch off characters. His ult can make you win a team fight. His ult can like 100% like change the game. When he counters Cloak and Dagger properly and destroys Cloak and Dagger in their ult, that's a game-changing play. A lot of people switch off after that happens. He can do the same thing to Iron Man. He can do the same thing to Torch. He can do the same thing to Punisher. He can do the same thing to Ultron. It's just kind of like a ridiculous game-changing play. And that's not even it's a very strong part of his kit. I think his bubbles are game-changing. Like being able to save one of your teammates' life in an emergency situation. I'm gonna tell you one thing that I started doing. I learned with Magneto. In a 2-tank match, I'm playing Magneto and I'm a Magneto main now, to be fair. But a 2-team tank match, I'm playing Magneto and I got another tank on my team. Excuse me, another tank on my team like Emma Frost. I give her the bubble, right? So I use my shield. I give her the bubble. We can fight on the front line all day long. It is so hard to kill, and it just get a high damage character like Emma Frost, like Thing, any Thor, all these characters, bubbling them enables them to take more chances. Bubbling a Hulk enables him to do more damage to stay in the back line longer. It's like that's a huge issue. So Magneto's like, and very important detail, Magneto right now is the only tank in the game that I think is viable against flyers because he has an area of damage shot at 20 meters long. You don't have to be super close to the flyer, just close enough that you're in the like area of damage range. That's really how you want to fight flyers with Magneto, because the shot's not fast enough. It's not hit scan, but you don't have to hit scan. You just got to get it close and you do AoE damage. So this is why in this season Magneto is the best tank. Emma Frost, she's just a damage monster. She's like so dangerous. Her ult is team wipe, has team wipe potential. It's very dangerous, right? It is really like you hear her her ult go off, everybody runs for cover, right? It's terrifying ult. Thankfully, it isn't like insta death, but yeah, like her diamond form is still dangerous. She does have a shield. It's not the best shield, but she's just she does a great job of threatening the other team's tanks. Right, she will kill the other team's tanks, and that is what makes Emma Frost a top tier tank. Strange, in the same conversation for best tank in the game, Strange has improved damage. He does better damage than Magneto. He just doesn't have as much utility as Magneto. I think Strange's shield is arguably better. It's bigger. It's easy. It's way easier to use. And he doesn't. He can't like cancel other. He can't counter other characters' ults, but he can block most of them. Right. So he can block Iron Man's ult. He can block a lot of Punisher plays, right? Like the turret. It's just a big nice shield is very useful, and he has very good close quarter damage, right? So he's like a mid range to close range fighter now, um, and he does high damage. So like you can some people might like him better than Magneto. I just think Magneto's bubbles and his ult counter capability like makes him better. And then the other thing with Strange gets his ult so fast now that like his value is up, right? So he's the worst of the best tanks in the entire game. There's three of them, and any combination of these three is like almost a surefire win. All right, Cloak and Dagger. I think Cloak and Dagger is still very good. There's no so this next tier for me is it always makes sense. There's no scenario that you're playing a Cloak and Dagger and you're going to say, well, it just doesn't make sense to play this character. There is one situation that is dangerous for Cloak and Dagger that is playing into Magneto. And as a Magneto main, right, I hope that the other team has a Cloak and Dagger so I can try and counter their ult. But I'm seeing at higher levels, right? I'm in the Plat 2, Plat 1 range. Cloak and Dagger characters are the good ones. They try to avoid ulting when Magneto's on the map, or they ult in ways that like the last stage of their ult is gonna be like into a cave that you can't hit them. You know what I mean? They're like moving out of line of sight of Magneto's ult. So I've seen some Cloak and Daggers that can kind of survive even playing against a Magneto. And if it's not a Magneto on the map, then Cloak and Daggers is almost always good to go. There's a few, a top tier Hawkeye can headshot them. I think I've seen videos of Iron Man killing them in their ult, but those things are not common. And they're really good healers, and they do a fair amount of damage in the purple curtain. That's like dangerous. It blinds you and it like maximizes your damage inputs. Like Cloak and Dagger has super high utility, and they have as Cloak you can be invulnerable. It's like there's so much value there, and Cloak and Dagger is the best, in my opinion, the best healer to go to bring into a map where your team has flyers, right? It's easier to heal Spider-Man. It's easier to heal Iron Man and Torch. And you can use Cloak and Dagger to fight the flyer meta. Like it's so many valuable situations where Cloak and Dagger is an excellent player. I just think that because they're like a bit more vulnerable than most in their ult, like kind of knocker. But I'm never gonna complain. Um, this is still in the hay. Like I see my teammates are picking Cloak and Dagger. I'm like, hey, I'm good. I like having Cloak and Dagger on my team. All right, the DPS. Yeah, there's no scenario where Hila's not good. Her ult as a Magneto, as a Strange, you can kind of counter it to some extent, but otherwise, like she's just too dangerous and lethal. And in a flyer meta, like Hila's is a great choice. There's no scenario where like it doesn't make sense. Obviously, you got to have good aim, but you presume that that's coming with the character, right? If you pick a good character and you play bad with them, that's on you. Iron Man. I think Iron Man is still the best flyer. his survivability is improved. He doesn't have the gamma team up, but it doesn't matter. Like he's just his area damage is like such a big, it's huge, right? Like the area that he does damage with his shots, and I don't think there's any like range fall off, right? So he can play the back of the map and just shoot at your feet all day, and you're gonna take like natural inherent damage. So like what happens with Iron Man is if a, and then this is the thing. In the scenario, you hopefully you shouldn't be seeing this at higher levels, right? But in the bronze, silver, and bronze, silver, and still in gold, I would say you occasionally see you go against a team and the Iron Man is unchallenged. That's a death sentence, right? Unchallenged flyers is a death sentence. So yeah, Iron Man is just dangerous, right? He like it's too easy for him to like affect the game. And so what happens is you're fighting, and every team fight you're dying, even though you think you should be winning the 1v1s or you're winning the fights, but it's because Iron Man is doing splash damage to the entire map while you're fighting, and so like you're just taking more damage than you should. And then if you're like in the flyer meta is cooking almost every tank. Any low mobility tank is getting absolutely cooked by flyer meta, and Iron Man is the main problem. And he's extremely common ban in the plat level, so Iron Man is a problem. Psylocke, I think good Psylocke is like very dangerous, in particular to the back line. Even to tanks, a good Psylocke can be dangerous. And her ult is like kind of unreasonably strong. When you're playing support and you hear the Psylocke ult go off, you just hope that it's not for you, right? Because if it is, you're probably gonna die. I mean, there's just not a lot of scenarios, and I play Rocket, uh, and it's not a lot of times that I have survived her ult. It's very rare. Occasionally, maybe she loses track of you, or you know, she chooses to kill somebody else. But like, if she wants you dead when she ults, you're gonna die. All right. Low key, the tier lists are getting long now because there's like so many characters and they just keep adding, right? Punisher, good in so many ways. His survivability, he just got more health. I think he might be at 300 now. He's at least 275, but he might be 300. Decent survivability. He doesn't have a lot of mobility, but I think if he did, it would be unfair, right? But Punisher is just like a damage factory. And because he's a damage factory, it lets him charge his ult a lot, and just a real nasty combination. I'm glad. I mean, low key, it's probably the right thing to do. I miss the infinite ammo team up because I was a rocket main, and it just brought me up my heart joy to have a Punisher in the game with me. But because of what else they did to him with his damage buffing, is like it would be unreasonable for him to also have infinite ammo. So his main gun is buffed. The shotgun's always been strong. I think people don't underrate it. Like it's anytime they're more than like 10 meters, anytime they're 10 meters or less, like switch to the shotgun and kill them. And the cycle, the nasty cycle of turret, poke. Between those two, you build ult. Then you go into his ult. Then when you come out of the ult, you go back into the turret. It's like it's constantly like suppression fire, and it's like you'll be surprised at how many people walk into Punisher turret. You know what I mean? It's like if you're patient, you can just wait it out. But like a lot of teams, especially if they're not well coordinated, they just walk into it. So Punisher's great. Torch is another. I think for me, he's a ban. I like playing into Punisher with Magneto, but tanking into Torch is a big problem because he puts fire on the ground. It's kind of like Iron Man. There's like so you just have this like default amount of damage that you're taking just by being in the fight, and if the Torch is unchecked, he could be very very problematic. And it just has so many ways to kind of just deal area damage that makes it hard for your team to move around the map, and he takes away space. He's like an anti-tank. So I know he's been nerfed a little bit, but like he's good. He's good. And a good torch can create huge problems. So I'm still happy when I see torch banned, but because I've switched to Magneto, I'm like, I'm willing and able to deal with him. But yeah, torches create a bunch of problems. Someone I saw pop in often with Lofton, and he kind of gave a guidance on what to do against flyers that I've been doing, and it does work. As a tank, honestly, I ignore the flyers. A lot of times I ignore the flyers, and I don't even fight the other tanks. I focus on the middle of the line, right? It's like tanks in front, DPS and healers in the middle and the back. I try to shoot at them, right? And Magneto has a great like 20-meter range shot that's perfect for like pressuring them. And so you kind of like play at a range where you're in maximum damage range for yourself against the mid and back line, and you just kind of ignore the tanks and hope that everybody else kills the tanks, right? Your DPS kills the tanks, you're killing their DPS, and you're killing their support. You're pressuring them. That's how you create space with Magneto. And I think, yeah, no, I'm just gonna say Magneto because I don't know how to play the other characters. Okay, now we're at the like really good tanks. So Venom and Captain America, they're basically both like dive tanks. Their games are really pretty similar in a lot of ways. They both got great mobility. They both have excellent survivability, which is really kind of like what makes them problems on the map. And I just think Venom is better at that. Like Venom dive in the backline is more deadly than Captain America dive in the backline. I think your support have a better chance of surviving a Captain America than they do surviving a Venom, right? If the Venom is back there unchecked, your team's gonna die back there. So you definitely have to help him peel, right? But yeah, they're pretty much doing the same thing. So Venom's strength is like diving the back line. Captain America's very good at diving the back line. The other thing that Captain America does well is he stalls point and stalls cart, right? He's like his mobility is so out of control, and he has like a support ult that like gives him health and gives his team health. So he can just hold point a lot longer. These two are debatable to me. Because Venom is higher damage output, like I fear him a little bit more. And yeah, he just kind of they're doing the same thing though. And nothing's worse than watching a Captain America. You're trying to hit him, he's moving a million miles an hour, and you see him just go get a run and get a health pack, and then he's back in your back line. It's just like it's horrible. It's horrible. I kind of would like to make the argument that like they should nerf Captain America, but like I wouldn't say he's overpowered. He's just very, very strong, very, very annoying, and you do have to be very good to kind of maximize him. So he's probably in the right place, but it's just frustrating to go against him. He's so hard to kill. All right, now we get to some more interesting areas. So this category is you better be good, right? So the characters aren't bad, but you got to be good with the character, or this is going to probably hurt your team, right? So Wolverine in the right hands, very, very dangerous to tank. But I think you really have to kind of learn how to play him well to like hit your grabs and to like how to utilize his survivability, how to get maximum damage out of him. But if you're a good Wolverine, you're gonna cook. You're gonna make a big impact. You may carry the game, but everybody's not good with Wolverine, right? So you got to be a good Wolverine. Hawkeye, same thing, right? Good Hawkeye. A good Hawkeye can carry. A good Hawkeye is a huge impact on the map in the match. But everybody's not good with Hawkeye. So yeah, same thing. Moon Knight. A good Moon Knight. He's gonna assassinate your backline. He's gonna catch you off guard with flanking kills, right? Burst damage kills. And then the other thing with Moon Knight that is such a huge impact and why he's so high. I mean, you got to be good with him, but he gets his ult so fast. He gets his ult like twice as frequently as Magneto does. Magneto's honestly, his ult is kind of too slow in my opinion, but Moon Knight gets his ult way too often, way all the time. I know that he has some weaknesses. If you can find the Moon Knight in his flanking spot, he's probably gonna die. But yeah, people are good Moon Knight players, if they're good, that could be a big deal. And I've had Moon Knights on my team, and their ult, the timing of their ults, like the last point, dropping an ult on the point, it can change the game. You can win or lose because of Moon Knight's ult. It'll just like kill everybody. So Moon Knight, not to be underestimated in the hands of a good player. Namor, same thing. A good so Namor, you're gonna have to have good aim, and familiarity with the character because he's not hit scan, so you kind of really gotta like you gotta predict your shots. But I think a good Namor can threaten flyers. He does a very good job of protecting the backline against dive, and even if it's not dive, Squid can be like very lethal in team fights. If your team is not diligent about destroying the Squid early, the Squid can get overwhelming, and the Hulk Squid obviously is a big problem. So, good Namor, definitely an impactful character. But yeah, there has some limitations because it can't really handle brawl at all. So, yeah. So there's some like ins and outs with these characters, but I think good ones are still problematic for you if you're going against them. Magic, same thing. She's really good, like dive character. She can totally harass the backline, and she's almost the borderline the hardest. No, she is the hardest character in that group in this tier to kill. That little teleporting is this kind of ridiculous to me. And she gets like health or armor every time she does it. Her ult is scary. Moon Knight, sorry, Magic is a character that your team is going to have to focus, right? Like this is not a 1v1. You need everybody to be paying attention to get to deal with a good Magic in the back line. And in just general in brawl, she can be a problem too. She'll kill people like that as well. So yeah, you do have to be good with Magic, and because it's like flyer meta again, she does have some limitations, so that's why she's not like at the top where she used to be. But you gotta be aware of Magic. All right, now to the you better be good tanks. So these are tanks, that are good. They have some limitations though, and you need to know how to use the character properly. So you got to be really good with this character in order to like make a good contribution. So Hulk, if you don't know, a great Hulk is absolutely dominant. They're not that common though. But good Hulks that can manage their health, they can get in, dive, pressure the back line, get back out without dying. That's huge. And in a general fight, Hulk can pick anybody and 1v1 them and probably kill them, right? His damage per second with infinite ammo is like, it just kind of kills you. So Hulk's very dangerous. He does have a huge hitbox, so if the Hulk, those are the limitations. These are the weaknesses. If the Hulk is not very good, then he can take a lot of damage coming in and not managing his bubble properly. Like he could be vulnerable. So bad Hulks die, great Hulks kick your butt, leave, and they keep doing it. And it's like stressful. And a Hulk that's diving in a dive comp is like terrifying. That's a really big problem. And then imagine he's enabling a Namor. If the Namor is good, you got all these Squid. It's brutal. So, and I think the other reason I have Hulk up in front of Thor, Hulk's ult, I think is a bit more dangerous. It makes his hitbox even bigger. But a Hulk that knows how to use his ult is another problem. I've seen it. I know what it's capable of. They're not very common, but a good Hulk, you just cannot underestimate that. And his bubble usage, another thing that like a really good Hulk will use his bubbles well, and he can keep his team alive, which is kind of a surprising characteristic from a dive tank. So yeah, and his freeze, like he's got utility. You cannot sleep on Hulk, and his mobility is the best of all the tanks, or all of the non-dive tanks. All right, what am I trying to say? Hulk's mobility is better than the top tier tanks here. Obviously, he doesn't compete with. He's competitive with Venom, I'd say, mobility wise. But Hulk you just can't sleep on his mobility. He's good. I said enough about him. All right, Thor. Thor has changed, so you do have to have mastered his new design. But Thor can still dive. He just doesn't have the same level of survivability as he did before. So you got to know what you're doing. I think a good Thor player in a like intelligent team comp can be lethal, and can be totally overwhelming, and they'll just run through you and kill you over and over again, and you will not win that match. But the Thor has to really be good. He has to have mastered the high burst combos. Um, yeah, I don't think his poke is super strong, right? As long as you have like a shield tank to play against him, I think Thor kind of is a bit weaker in that sense. And I see Thor's die a lot more frequently than they used to. So whatever they did, the nerfs that they did to him, they did work. But yeah, Thor's can't be underestimated. They just have to be really good to compete now. But there are good Thors out there. They're just not all over the place. Groot has fallen far. So Groot was at one point the best tank in the game. His walls were super strong. His damage was super strong. I still think he might have the best ult in the game, one of the best ults in the game. I just love Magneto's ult. It's more fun and interesting. But Groot has a potentially team wiping ult, which is super important and useful. But it does kind of require a bit of coordination. You got to use that at the right time because a lot of people are able to survive the Groot ult. The ult itself doesn't do enough damage. It's a Groot ult plus the wall plus a grenade, or your team is like paying attention there and they're joining in to do the killing damage. But yeah, a couple things happened, right? So Punisher got buffed. Punisher is more common. Punisher destroys Groot walls. I was a Rocket main. Rocket is another character that does a really good job against Groot. His walls are easy to kill with Rocket because Rocket has high damage output. Is just not very accurate and it's not hit scan. But against Groot and Groot's walls, Rocket does a very good job. Um, I don't really love going against him as a Magneto because Magneto's like burst damage is not that high, but like Emma cooks Groot. Um, Thor and Hulk, I think, cook Groot. So and Groot's attacks can be blocked by shields because they're considered projectiles. The vines are considered projectiles. So there's a lot of scenarios where you can block Groot's damage, and he can block his ult. So Groot's just a little, his giant hitbox and his low mobility. I think he eats a lot of damage. So yeah, it's just I think there's better options, right? Uh, a Venom, or any of these shield tanks. I think outplay Groot. So he does create problems for poor mobility. So the thing is, Groot kind of puts Magneto, Emma, and Strange in danger because they're poor mobility. So he can wall them off, but you just have to be careful against Groot. In 1v1, you're able to kill him. So Groot's just not he's not what he used to be. All right, next category. So this is situational choices. I kind of like to call it okay, but just this once, meaning that like you don't like to see this choice on your team, but when the character is good or if it's the right situation, it can be helpful and it can make a big difference. It can have a positive impact, but it's not common. It is like really kind of scary. You don't trust these characters, and I don't trust people with these characters. So the first one is Jeff. Low key, Jeff is a little bit of a problem. Honestly, sometimes I like to make the argument to buff Jeff because of his piercing damage and healing. Now he's kind of has a big impact on fights, so you can't really underestimate Jeff's like his healing beam is like super far range, like across the map. It's insane. So it's kind of ridiculous in that way. And then the thing that really makes Jeff like OP is the team up with Storm, right? That is the best team up in the game. It's just that both characters in and of themselves are not all that strong, but the team up together makes them like very, very dangerous. But so that's kind of why it's situational. Like if you have a Storm, then the Jeff is a great pick. If you have a Jeff, then Storm is a great pick. But individually, I think they're both vulnerable. I noticed that because I think Jeff's like in the ground timing is more limited now. he's dying in his ult a lot more frequently, or my teammates are just better at the platinum level, and everybody knows you got to save your team's life by trying to kill the Jeff. So yeah, Jeff is harder to survive now, but the ult is still dangerous. Like I mean, I play Magneto, I get swallowed by the ult all the time, and I usually use my bubble to save other people instead of saving myself. So that's another reason that like Jeff survives. Um, he's gonna eat Strange. He's gonna eat Emma. Right? Any stationary character, Punisher. These people get eaten by Jeff often, so it is an issue. But I think the thing that makes Jeff puts him down and keeps him from being like top tier is he doesn't have a support ult, right? Compared to these kind of characters here, right? This is really like in tournaments. This is what you need, right? I'm not. I mean, I don't play in tournaments, but you're not gonna see Jeff in a tournament. You see these characters in a tournament. Um, if you really, really, really want to win a match, right? Everybody's talking about it, planning it, and working together. These are the characters you're going to see because of the support. So there's limitations to Jeff. I'm super happy that they got rid of DPS Jeff. That was kind of ridiculous. It wasn't. It wasn't kind of ridiculous. It was ridiculous, and it's just problematic. He was too oddly designed. He was too far out of his role as a healer that like he doesn't give you enough heals, but then he's not really strong enough DPS. So it's just kind of this odd combo. And his ult is neither, right? It's not a strong offensive ult, and it's not a particularly strong defensive ult. This is this odd niche ult. And so like those are the things where it's like, there's limitations. You gotta be careful with Jeff. Same thing about Squirrel Girl. Um, Obviously, there are scenarios where Squirrel Girl is very valuable. I think Squirrel Girl is perfect for pushing the cart and stopping the cart, right? Those are maps and map designs where they're gonna almost always have some type of alley, choke point, or corner that the team has to fight around, and that's where Squirrel Girl thrives. Just like launching damage and especially if you're like hiding in some kind of corner or some closed area, and she can get her shots into that closed area. They bounce around and kill you. Her ult is still super dangerous. There's just a lot of scenarios where it's hard to shoot. If you're not playing a character that has a lot of like DPS style burst damage, it's hard to like destroy her ult. And her ult is just vicious. So she's still a problem, but there's a lots of scenarios where she doesn't work well at all. So against flyers, she's terrible. And also against dive meta, she's terrible, right? Squirrel Girl is like by nature picking a good position. Sometimes they're like in the far back of the map, and so they're just launching this damage, kind of hoping to hit something, even if they have good aim, right? No disrespect to Squirrel Girls, but by nature, every shot is not going to be a crack shot, and so you're just kind of like a lot of times you're hoping the shot bounces around and does some damage, and so you see Squirrel Girls with all this high damage output, and then they might even have kills, but it's like the kills that you're getting are like they're don't those kinds of kills don't really affect the game the way that you think they do. They're like a Squirrel Girl getting a kill doesn't cause the team to win or lose the fight. What happens is that one character that got caught by surprise and randomly hit by a Squirrel Girl shot, like might have to respawn but it's just she doesn't have that assassin capability, which I think is the big difference maker with DPS. Some DPS can just pick a character and kill them. Squirrel Girl's kind of putting out broad damage, but she doesn't have control over the game because she doesn't really know who she's hitting very often. But yeah, if you're walking into a Squirrel Girl on a convoy match, if you're bad and you're just walking into it, you don't see the Squirrel Girl, then yeah, she's gonna do damage, and y'all just walk into it. You'll die because same like Iron Man and Torch, you're taking this residual damage you don't really see and know where it's coming from, and it's just whittling you down and you're dying. But Squirrel Girl does good against Groot too, but it's just kind of very odd scenarios. And Squirrel Girl, when it's a nasty team fight, a brawl, Squirrel Girl can't help you, and that's why I think that's her limitation. she can't help you in a clutch big time fight, right? When you're fighting on point, that last few moments, Squirrel Girl can't help you. And and if you find the Squirrel Girl similar to Moonlight, like Squirrel Girl really can't defend herself. So she's got strength and weaknesses, but situational. Storm, I don't think Storm is that good. I think her survivability is pretty low. She has the worst mobility of any character, any flying character, and the lowest damage output of any flying character. She's got two great characteristics, one of which is that she's damage boosting. So I think most people use her damage boosting most of the time, and yeah, that's an important, valuable characteristic. But because of her vulnerability, I think I think knowledgeable opponents will kind of try to focus the storm and kill her to get her out of there. So now, and she's so easy to kill, like her mobility is so poor. She's like extremely squishy, and that I think kind of balances her out. Obviously, when she has Jeff, then all of a sudden there's a big problem. Her ult is strong on its own. Storm's ult is strong on its own, but I think really if the other team has a Storm by herself, I'm not terrified of her. I just think you have to be smart enough to like focus her and get her out of the game and take advantage of her low survivability. But yes, she is very threatening to backline because she can, she gets to pinpoint where her ult takes off. I think they should probably like limit the time a little bit more, right? Like 5 seconds is too long for Storm to be able to like decide where she wants to go. She can get all the way right up on your support player and kind of pick who she wants to kill. As a mag main, I'm always gonna like look for support characters and prepare myself to bubble and try to save someone. So, but a lot of times one of you is gonna die. Wanda, um, I just the scenario that makes sense is when Strange is in the game. Now, to her credit, Strange I think is a very good tank this season. So there are a lot of situations where Wanda makes sense, but I would take Bucky, Star Lord, Mr. Fantastic almost every time. But she does do very well against Dive, right? She does good against Spider Man, and if the Flyers are bad enough to let her get close, she does good against that as well. But she's just not, and she has decent survivability. I think her survivability is good, but I think she's best used as a flank and dive character, kind of like attacking the back line, flanking them, surprising you. So in that way, she could be a really tough opponent. But yeah, there's just better choices. There's just no real reason to play her. And her best situation is with Strange, and otherwise, you definitely shouldn't be playing her. So that's the kind of the issue with her. And her ult is like kind of easy to cancel out. The worse the opponents are, the more likely she pulls it off. But it's rare that she kind of survives through that ult. So not a lot of value there. Penny, another one. The scenario that I think makes sense for her is when there's a rocket on the map, and it's the same, right? Rocket is a top tier healer, so there's lots of situations where rockets on the map. So you really kind of have to ban one of them. I would much rather. Well, I'm gonna ban Penny because I want to be able to play Rocket and I want to have Rocket on my team. Uh, and really, but when they're together, Rocket and Penny is like it's over the amount of mines is overwhelming. It's out of control, and so I think they go from one mine to three, right? Because Rockets Res Beacon puts out mines, and then Penny gets an extra mine, so it's three mines. Like it's too much. But outside of that situation, I think Penny is a bad choice. Like there's just no other reason to use her. I don't think her mines and her defense is helpful enough to like choose her versus one of the top tier tanks or even the next level down tanks. So Penny's not bad. She's not bad anymore, but I think she abuses like low elo characters, if you will. I don't know. I know that I don't know. I know that I don't really know what low elo means, but like, you know, Gold, silver, I think Penny does better than she does at like the platinum level, you know. I haven't been to diamond, but I've been diamond one, so you know, I just think the better your opponents are, the less likely they are to die to Penny. So it's situational at best. Now, now we finally get to some of the fun characters I want to hate on. I hope that you stuck around to hear these. Uh, so this is the tier that I would just say it never makes sense to play these characters. These are really bad choices. These are the kind of choices that when you see your teammates choosing them, you're hopefully trying to talk them out of it, right? You're like, you see that your teammates hovering Spider-Man, you're like, hey man, you know, we might need this instead. They're hovering Widow, you're like concerned, you're gonna tell them like not to play Widow. You see them hover Iron Fist, you don't want that in your match either. But let's start off with Adam Warlock. This was pretty easy. It's pretty straightforward. There's no scenario where it makes sense to pick Adam Warlock when you can pick Luna Snow. Like name a situation, right? He has the worst support ult in the game, the worst healer's ult. It's terrible. Most likely it will result in you dying more. His best ability is Soul Bond, which does like keep your team alive. It does make them hard to kill for a short period of time. It's kind of like an ult. So that's his best characteristic, but no real serious support ult is just not good enough. And his damage is high, but like so is Luna's, you know what I mean? And so is Loki's. So I don't see a situation. I think Loki works well as a DPS, like as a hit scan character. So I don't see any scenario where you can justify a Warlock pick against any of these healers up here, right? Rocket has Res Beacon. Loki has high damage hit scan. Luna has high damage hit scan. Um, and significantly better ults. So this is really borderline a throw pick. But I would just say it just never makes sense to choose them. Um, Iron Fist. So yeah, this is a good way to kind of handle the does it make sense to choose these characters. Whenever you pick Adam Warlock, why didn't you pick Luna Snow? Whenever someone picks Iron Fist, why didn't you pick Wolverine? Right? If you're gonna dive the back line, why didn't you pick Captain America or Venom? They have better survivability. They're equally as lethal, if not more, and and they have more utility. They can do other things besides that. If you're trying to kill tanks with Iron Fist, why didn't you pick Wolverine? Right? There's no excuse to pick Iron Fist if you're trying to do percentage damage when you can choose Wolverine. So there's just no scenario where Iron Fist makes sense. Um, and I think his ult is like pretty easy to kind of survive through. It does, you know, everyone's gonna scramble, but like, well, you know, there's a better choice for every single like function of Iron Fist. That it just never makes sense to pick him. Black Widow. Why didn't you pick Hawkeye? Right? Uh, name the situation where if equally skilled characters, the Hawkeye's not better, right? The Hawkeye is one shot kill, Widow is two shot kill. Hawkeye has a better ult. Um, yeah, and then survivability, Hawkeye has better survivability. There's no situation where it makes sense to go Black Widow when you can get Hawkeye. I think you know in either case the character needs you need to be good with the character. But I think Hawkeye is generally the better version of Black Widow, so I don't know why you would choose her. Spider Man doesn't make sense anymore. Thank God they nerfed his uppercut. Uh, you know, as a dive character, I think Spider Man does one thing well, which is like surprise pressure and killing of the backline. He can definitely harass the backline, but you know, if you're good, you have experience. You know, there's a counter choice in Namor that kind of naturally and automatically protects you against Spider-Man. You know, like so because there's such a strong counter to Spider-Man, I just don't think that Spider-Man, I don't see how it makes sense to play Spider-Man. You know, like if I'm going against Spider-Man and I have control over my whole team, I'm gonna pick a Namor every time. I think that neutralizes Spider-Man. And then, imagine you got like Cloak and Dagger in the back line. So Cloak is gonna avoid, right? Most of the support characters have some type of a like survivability option. Like with Rocket, I just keep dashing and hope that he doesn't hit me and just kind of run. So you have enough mobility and wall running that like you can survive. This is the thing against Spider-Man. You do have to be aware, so you can't be bad to survive against Spider-Man. But assuming I'm giving everyone the benefit of the doubt, I have learned to survive against him. You need to hear the web swing and the thwapping before he is on you, right? If you're reacting after he shoots you, then yeah, you're gonna be in trouble. But if you need to see Spider-Man as he approaches, you need to see Spider-Man as he's hiding and looking. You need to hear Spider-Man when he's firing his webs and trying to mark you. As long as you are reacting in that phase of the fight, you can survive against Spider-Man. So again, most of these characters have an option there, right? Invisible Woman's going to double jump. Cloak and Dagger's going to go invulnerable. I think Loki just puts his pads down, and Rocket dashes and runs and wall runs, and so I think you are able to survive. The worst thing that can happen is he ults on your team. So it's a very specific situation, and I'm not sure that Spider-Man builds his ult very frequently. So yeah, so I just I don't think it makes sense to play Spider-Man anymore. If you're trying to dive and pressure support, you could do that with Venom. You could do that with Captain America, and they have much more utility and much more diverse usage and value. Even Hulk, and Psylocke, even right. So like when you see a Spider-Man on your team, you're like, man, I just don't see it working. Like they're just never good enough to like Spider-Man's can't hold point. You know what I'm saying? These are the issues with these like flanking flyer type characters. None of them can hold point. None of them can like stall a fight, and so that's where I think Spider-Man is like not great. Think so. Thing was really strong for a while. I think people have figured Thing out, and Thing has a couple weaknesses. He's got a nice big juicy hitbox, so he takes a lot of damage, right? And in order for him to make value, he has to dive, push all the way to the back line. You do need to be an intelligent team and be pumping damage into Thing to not let him get into the back line with full health. Um, but yeah, like because he's taking a lot of damage trying to make his way in, unless he has his ult, like he's more likely to die than he is to survive. Um, so it does require focus, but I think a lot of characters have enough damage output. The pressure Thing's mobility is not great, right? He has one ability which is charging, and that's where he takes his damage. Other than that, like it's hard for him to get away. He's just kind of running back and hoping to get back. So now they're taking so much damage on the way in, running in, that if they can't hop back, they're gonna die. You know what I mean? Uh, yeah. So I think Thing is like squishy, or his hitbox is so big, and he doesn't have any like real survivability tools that I think are helping him survive. And back to the flyer meta, Thing takes a lot of damage against flyers. He has no counter against flyers. He can't reach them at all. He can't jump like Hulk can, and so there's a limit to Thing's design, and I think people are starting to realize that Thing's not very good. So it doesn't make sense now. Why are you picking Thing when you can pick Venom? Why are you picking Thing when you can pick Captain America? Why are you picking Thing when you can pick Hulk? And I'm proud to say that I was a Hulk man when Thing came out, and I maintained from the beginning that Thing had a mobility limitation. He can't jump. He doesn't have high mobility. He does, and so that was like always his problem. To me, if you're going against Thing, just elevate yourself, right? Go to the second story and shoot down on his head instead of standing in front of him and punching him, and you're probably going to counter Thing. All right, and so now we get to the worst characters in the game. These are report this player for throwing, right? When you see these characters on your team, you're like, oh my god, please get him out of here. Ultron is trash. I hate Ultron. He's on the right side of Mantis because he's worse than Mantis. Um, he has one saving grace, which is his drone, but nobody is using it correctly right now. I'll be honest, I'm a little bitter. There's a couple. These are the problems with Ultron. So right now, you're getting a lot of Ultron players that are trying to play Ultron as a second healer. Ultron is not a valid second healer. He is a third healer. I'm gonna prove it to you. You pick one of these characters as your like main healer, okay? And now you have to give me a good argument why you don't pick another one of these characters and have extra healing as your second healer, right? What you're seeing and what is costing people games right now is people are choosing one of the top tier healers, Invisible Woman, Cloak and that, whatever, Luna, and then they're coming in with an Ultron and saying like, I'm the second healer, here I am. But their main kit is DPS. Their ult is mostly DPS. He has no support ult. So now you're in a fight with at best one support ult. Sometimes people are playing Jeff and Ultron. That's insta death. That's throwing. This is why, right? At least Jeff is a decent healer. I think you can make the argument for Jeff as a second healer. Yes, you cannot make that argument for Ultron. The best case scenario with Ultron, this is how I think if you're playing intelligently with Ultron, it can work, but you really have to know what you're doing. You play 3 healers. You got 2 main healers, or maybe you do like a main healer and you have 2 off healers, right? A Star Lord or a Mantis and a Ultron. Okay, but you have to have 3. And what you do with Ultron is you put the drone on the tank. So whoever's holding the front line, normally it's going to be a Strange or a Magneto, right? Emma Frost can also hold front line, but she's just not as good at it because her shield not as doesn't have as much shield utility. But if you put Ultron's drone on my Magneto, we're Gucci. I'm gonna manage my damage such that I never die, or I very rarely die, because I'm getting and the other tank can fight around me, right? So we're in the same vicinity fighting together, so that you're also getting the other tank is also getting residual healing. And it makes it, and then imagine if you have like a Magneto, a Emma Frost or a Strange, and a Mr. Fantastic. That's a really strong front line, but that's the only scenario, and you got to understand how to do that. You cannot play Ultron as a second healer, and so I kind of have him in the story category because that's his most frequent use case, and it's not worth not having a support ult. It's not worth having a character that you're expecting to give a secondary level healing output, and instead he's playing DPS and he's a flyer, so he can't help you hold point. It's a throw pick. He can be utilized properly, but it's only as a third healer, so that's kind of situational and is not well understood right now. It's very early, so he probably will move up as people kind of understand how to use him. But you cannot play Ultron as a second healer, and everybody's playing Ultron as a second healer, and this is why right now you see him on your team, it's probably going to be a throw. Mantis, a throw pick in this sense. She's not bad. Well, she's not great either, but it's not that she's so bad. It's just that she gets outshined by the top tier healers. Like, explain to me when you're gonna choose Mantis and you didn't choose Luna Snow instead, right? Luna Snow is a superior character, and they're almost the same character. There's no you don't pick Mantis. You don't pick Mantis. Um, So there's just no reason for this choice. There is a character in the game that is better than her um, at everything, and Mantis does not have like great survivability. That's her other problem. She can't really like get away very well. She's got the freeze or the sleep. That's pretty good, but no. And then finally, Panther. I think people have just kind of learned how to deal with Panther. Panther, he's also been nerfed to some extent. His survivability is down. Again, Namor is a clear, clean counter to him. And his ult is not really like strong. It's kind of niche. So I would make the argument: why play Panther when you can play Spider Man? Why play Spider Man when you can play one of the dive tanks? Why play Spider Man when you can play Mr. Fantastic? Right? You want to pressure the back line. Mr. Fantastic can do the same thing. He's equally as lethal to backline, and he has much more broad use. And so Panther is obviously a throw. He's like known to be the worst character in the game right now. And he doesn't bring any like point winning value to your team, right? So like he can't really help you in a brawl because he's too squishy. He can't. I mean, obviously, he can if people are not paying attention to him. He's like sneaking into the fight, but he doesn't really help you hold point, right? If you're fighting over point, there's a few people left. The Panther can't help you. He's hiding. He spends so much time, just like Spider-Man, just like Iron Fist. They spend so much time selecting their next target that if they're not maximizing value consistently, which is hard to do, he's basically wasting time and like wasting. He's not helping you, and you're kind of losing like damage, and you're losing support ults and all that kind of stuff. So just a lot of reasons. Like look at this compared to this. Look at the DPS here, like Iron Fist, Widow, Panther. Think about their ults and then compare it to Bucky, Star Lord. Mr. Fantastic's ult is it does have a niche use. Of all of them, his is the least valuable, but works very well against supports like these guys do. But Mr. Fantastic is here because of his survivability and his damage output. His generic general damage output. He kills tanks and he can brawl with tanks and kill them. He can brawl with backline and kill him. He can brawl with DPS and kill him. And there's no character that has an easy kill on Mr. Fantastic. He's too hard to kill. Compare that to Panther, is just not even close. So, all right, that's it. This is an amazing tier list. This is probably my best and most knowledgeable and well organized. I think this is one of the ones I'm the most proud of. So again, healers in front, DPS in the middle because everybody plays DPS, and then my favorite role, tanks in the back. And you can see kind of the layout here. Don't pick these characters. Don't do it. You're wasting your time. You're throwing the game. These also don't make sense. Don't pick these guys either. And these are niche choices. If you're good, this tier list will be tolerated. Like, but why are like I know it's boring because everybody's gonna be this is the meta, but like these are the characters that you should be choosing. If you're playing comp and you're trying to win and you don't want your teammates to be complaining and all, you know what I mean? Like this is how that's done. You choose a good character and then you give your team the best chance to win. So, all right, that's it. That's coming from 500 hours, Platinum 1, experienced player. I think this ranking probably goes up to the diamond level. I'm not claiming to be grandmaster and all that. At some point, some of this is different. Like I know heal is probably like top tier if you've got elite aims, but for 80% of the players that play Marvel Rivals, this is the tier list that's going to make sense to all of y'all. So enjoy. You're welcome.